What's going on, guys? This was a 200cc Chinese four-wheeler engine. It has 4 gears forward, neutral, and reverse. And I want to make it a standalone transmission so that I can put, another engine, whatever engine I want, and connect it to this and have me a transmission. So, and you could use like a centrifugal clutch on the motor and make it so that you can just pop it in gear and then give it gas. And then you have to shift the clutch, use the clutch to shift it. But some other things that's kind of nice about this is there's a little sending unit bolt on here. You could put lights indicating what gear you're in. And another thing is that all the gears, including reverse, is all on one shifter. All the way down is reverse, one up is neutral, and then up is all the other gears. My plans is pretty much remove the cam because it won't need it anymore, and then I can make a cover that goes on here to seal this side of the engine up, and I can also make a cover for the top to seal this up. Things that's going to need to be done is I'm going to take the crank out of it and get rid of the offset of the crank so that it's just a straight shaft through. And this needs to be made so that it is a standard size. Probably I'm looking at like 5/8, so that way I can put whatever gear I want on here. And I need to tap into this oil run right here so that the oil pressure can bleed off and back down into the cylinder, because there won't be a top end, and if I was to put a gasket, seal this off, the oil pressure would run right up against the gasket and blow it out. Mainly the shaft that I have to make, it has to have this spline on the end of it, so I'll probably utilize using this end of it and then make it so that it probably gets pressed together and possibly welded in the center here with a whole new shaft from here out. And so we'll get started on it. Got the cam out, and pretty much it just slid down in here, and then this just slides in and holds it in, and there's a little clip that holds it all fast in there. Notice that this engine only has one cam lobe to run both rocker assemblies. Well, we won't need it anymore. Alright, so we got all the bolts out of the case, and I just had to keep pushing down on all the shafts while I'm trying to split it, so that way it doesn't pull all the gears and stuff up out of it. Alright, we got the case split, and you can see here, of course, there is a ball bearing on each end of this crank. And that's why I'm not really too concerned about powering this thing from this shaft, because it with the ball bearings it can handle a load from the side. And of course that's how it drives itself, is a gear from the other end of this goes to the transmission. But, get the crank out of there and see what we got. Alright, we got the crank out, and what my vision here is with this is I have to make a drawing of what this thing is right now, because the tolerances of this thing staying center in the case is based on the fact that how wide this is here. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'll cut it in two. After I get all my measurements, I'll cut it in two. And then I'll actually machine this down to where it's cleaned up and it is a size, kind of like the bearing, how it's all round. This will be turned to some size that cleans it up and it's round, like perfectly round. And then the whole other end will be remanufactured, something new, so I have the shaft that I need, fits in the bearing, and then it'll actually press into this, this piece after it's machined, and then probably weld it up. That's what I'm kind of looking at with this, but we'll kind of have to see what I come up with. May have, different thoughts later. Well, I came up with a plan with what I'm going to do with this crank, and you can see this gear here slides off, and my biggest concern was having this end on, whatever I make. And so I came up with a different idea. One of the things, the first idea I had was trying to machine this so that this whole end could be welded onto a new shaft. The only problem with that is that, getting it perfectly straight, for one, and two, being welded in the middle, can make it weak. So what I came up with is I'm gonna make a whole new shaft. The new shaft won't have this, but what I'm going to do is measure the inside of here and make this so that it presses on, like really good pressed on. And then I'll weld, pretend this isn't here, this won't be here anymore. I'll weld this up on the very end, and then being welded right on the end won't damage the integrity of the shaft. If anything ever happens to the shaft, it might be a little bit difficult to save this gear and reuse it. But I think I have an extra one of these anyways from another engine, just the same, if I ever had any trouble with it. So pretty much I need a bar that's, I'll probably start out with a solid bar that's like 1.25 inches, and it needs to be 9-inch 150 long, and then pretty much just turn all these journals on it, drill and tap the end so that I can put a nut on the end of it, and put a keyway in it. I would like to try to figure out maybe, like, because the edge of the engine will come out to around here somewhere, but I don't know exactly where it'll be. Maybe put another step shoulder on here so that way whatever gear I put on here won't slide all the way up against the engine. I may or may not do that, but that's the plan. Let's see, I'll go make it. Alright, so we got the new shaft made. I turned all the journals on here. I did get help with milling out the keyway. This right here is, there's no splines anymore on here. This is press fit for this sprocket or gear, and then I welded the very end of it up. So start putting this thing together and see what we got. Got new gaskets, and I also like to mention I did drill a hole in there so that the oil pressure can bleed off somewhere, but I did stay with a small hole so that way you see here there's other places oil pressure goes, so if I put a massive hole in there, nothing else would have oil pressure. Alright, got it all back together, and I'll show you guys turning and working. There was threads out on the crankshaft here, and basically there was a harmonics dampener that bolted on here, and I don't see a reason to have it because no longer an engine. So, alright, we'll shift it. There's reverse. There's first. Go back to neutral. Put well, the plan now is I need to make a cover, and then I have a seal that goes on here. And what I'm going to do is, when I make the cover, I'm going to make it out of cardboard. Make one, make one out of cardboard first, and then like trace the gasket out on cardboard. I'll make the cover, and then I'll use the cardboard to figure out where the shaft is. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because what I'm going to do is just the hole could actually be a little bit bigger than what's in the cover, and I'm going to make a ring, about that thick, that will actually fit the seal. And what I'll do is I'll put the seal in the ring, and then slide the ring down on, and then tack weld it, and then remove the seal, and that'll make it so that the ring is centered, because the seal will be making it centered. Probably won't put the seal all the way down in the ring, just to get it centered. Tack weld it, and then take the seal out, weld it all up, and then I'll just trace out the head gasket to make a cover for this, and then just bolt a cover on it. But well, we'll make the covers. Alright, so we got the cover here made. What I did was I just got a piece of metal and traced out the original gasket and cut it out, and I also traced out the gasket onto a piece of cardboard and figured out where the center of this hole was, and so I could transfer where the hole is on the cardboard to the metal. And then I actually put this seal in this ring, slid it over here with the metal bolted up, and slid this down, tack welded it, and cooled it off with water immediately. Removed the seal and welded it up, so that's how I got the seal centered. And so up next, we'll make a cover for this. Alright, it's all completed. Got all the covers on it, ready to go. It's like first gear. This cover here, how I made this cover is I took a piece of paper, laid it on the block, kind of went around it and just pressed in an imprint into the piece of paper, and transferred it to the metal and made a gasket out of a cereal box. This gasket here is a cereal box as well. But I guess I'll catch you guys later.